her voice laced with manipulation. Ever since Chioma came into our lives, it has been one problem to another. She's a bad influence, I tell you. Don't worry, I will deal with her. Once upon a time, in the city of Lagos, there lived a young man named Jide. He was the heir to his father's successful business empire, and he lived a life of luxury and indulgence. Being an only child, he was spoiled by his doting mother, who showered him with love and material possessions. Jide was a handsome young man with charming looks that captivated the hearts of many. But behind his charming facade lay a heart filled with arrogance and cruelty. He cared little for others and had a reputation for mistreating women who fell for his charms. To him, they were nothing more than disposable playthings to be discarded once he grew bored. One day, Jide embarked on a business trip to the eastern part of Nigeria, to a village called Umuofia. Accompanying him was his friend, Shola. As they drove to the narrow village roads, they almost hit a girl who was selling vegetables. This girl's name was Chioma. She was very pretty and came from a family without much money. Chioma couldn't go to school anymore because her parents did not have enough money to pay for it. But even though life was hard, Chioma was always cheerful and kind. She had a big heart and would share her last piece of bread with someone else who was hungry. She was also very smart and loved to learn new things. Every day, she would read books that she borrowed. Chioma dreamed of going back to school and becoming a teacher so she could help other kids learn and grow. Fascinated by Chioma's beauty, Jide made a bet with Shola that he could seduce her, and so he began to patronize Chioma, buying her vegetables and showering her with gifts. Chioma felt a flutter in her heart every time Jide showed up with gifts. She thought he was the nicest guy ever, not realizing his true intentions. Despite her parents' warning about Jide, she couldn't see past the presents he showered her with. Little did she know that Jide's only plan was to win her over, then leave her stranded. Jide tried all his possible best to get Chioma into bed, but she refused. He then switched plans and asked her to marry him. However, Chioma's father, Mazi Okeke, adamantly refused, citing Chioma's young age and their family's modest means. Enraged by this rejection, Jide plotted to teach Mazi Okeke a lesson for daring to defy him. He enlisted the help of some unpleasant characters to kidnap Mazi Okeke, intending to scare him into submission. But in a tragic twist of fate, the kidnapping went horribly wrong and Mazi Okeke was killed by mistake. The news of Mazi Okeke's death spread through the village, sending shockwaves of fear and suspicion among the villagers. No one knew who was responsible for the crime, and rumors began to circulate. Back in his hotel room, Jide felt really bad because he knew he was partly responsible for Mazi Okeke's death. But his pride and arrogance prevented him from confessing to his role in Mazi Okeke's death. Meanwhile, Chioma was consumed by grief over the loss of her father. She could sense that something was amiss, but she had no way of knowing the truth behind his tragic death. As time passed, nobody could figure out what happened to Mazi Okeke, making everyone in the village of Umuofia scared and suspicious. And in the chaos, Jide's hidden truth was in danger of coming out, putting him at risk of being trapped in a tangle of lies and dishonesty. Jide quickly went back to the city and continued his old lifestyle of womanizing. Days turned into weeks, and Jide's life spiraled further into chaos. His mother's relentless pressure to get married intensified, but he found himself unable to commit to any of the women she introduced to him. Chioma's face lingered in his mind, a constant reminder of his actions. Then, one fateful night, as Jide lay in bed, tormented by guilt and regret, he heard a strange noise outside his window. It sounded like the beating of wings and the mournful cry of an owl. He brushed it off and tried to go back to sleep. But as he closed his eyes, a chilling sensation washed over him. Suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding light, and Jide felt a presence looming over him. Terrified, he tried to scream, but no sound escaped his lips. He felt as though he was being dragged, consumed by an unseen force. Just when he thought he couldn't bear it any longer, the room fell silent, and the presence left the room. Jide lay trembling in bed, his body drenched in cold sweat. 6 months later, after the death of Mazi Okeke, Jide traveled to Umuofia village just to see Chioma and complete the mission he had already started. He invited Chioma to his hotel room. He gave her so many gifts he bought for her. He then got her drunk and had his way with her. Few months later, as Chioma's belly grew with the new life growing inside her, she couldn't shake off the feeling of uncertainty and fear. But when she finally gathered the courage to tell Jide about the baby, he hesitated at first, unsure of what to do. But then, with his mother's constant pressure to settle down, he reluctantly agreed to marry Chioma. On their wedding day, there was a sad feeling instead of happiness in the air. Chioma's mother couldn't hide her disappointment, her heart heavy with memories of her late husband's disapproval of Jide. Yet, despite her reservations, she had to accept the union for the sake of her daughter and grandchild. After the wedding, Chioma and Jide returned to the city as husband and wife. Chioma couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. She noticed the troubled look in Jide's eyes, the haunted expression that seemed to linger even in his sleep. But whenever she tried to ask him about his dreams, he would brush her off, refusing to open up. Meanwhile, Jide's mother, Ireti, harbored a deep hatred towards Chioma. She saw her as an obstacle standing between her and her son's affections. Ireti tried to separate them by making plans and being dishonest. Chioma tried to do things to make her mother-in-law happy, but Ireti just didn't want to like her. As a pregnant Chioma busied herself in the kitchen, Ireti entered. With a fierce gaze, "You think you can replace me as Jide's mother? Let me tell you, your plans have failed." Without warning, she shoved Chioma, sending her crashing to the ground. "Stay out of my way," Ireti's voice boomed, her eyes flashing with malice as she towered over Chioma, who trembled with fear. Chioma looked up, her heart racing with a mixture of shock and dread as she faced the wrath of her mother-in-law. Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed in the kitchen, and Jide walked in, his eyes widened in alarm as he took in the scene before him. His wife on the floor, trembling, and his mother standing over her. "What's going on here?" Jide demanded, his voice stern as he approached his mother and wife. But before anyone could speak, Ireti dropped on the ground, her eyes brimming with forced tears. "Oh, Jide," she cried, her voice trembling with deception. "It was Chioma. She pushed me down." Chioma's heart sank as she watched her mother-in-law's performance. She wanted to defend herself, but the words cut in her throat. Ireti seized the opportunity to poison Jide's mind further, spinning tales of Chioma's supposed wrongdoings since she entered their home. "Jide, my son," she pleaded, her voice laced with manipulation. "Ever since Chioma came into our lives, it has been one problem to another. She's a bad influence, I tell you. Don't worry, I will deal with her," she said. The following morning, as Chioma went about her daily chores, Ireti approached her with a false smile and sweet words. She offered Chioma a refreshing drink. Unsuspecting, Chioma accepted the drink, unaware of the danger. With each sip, its effects slowly taking hold. As the minutes passed, Chioma's vision blurred, her head spinning with dizziness. Panic surged through her veins as she struggled to remain upright, her hand clutching her pregnant belly.